If you go somewhere else and mention, I'm living in Franklin County now, more than likely, Franklin County, that's moonshine.
We're kind of dubbed the moonshine capital of the world.
Just perfect for making liquor.
Incredible stories. You don't make this stuff up. We don't have to.
The stories go back before Prohibition in the late 1800s when Scot-Irish immigrants made their way into Southern Virginia.
And with that, the tradition of bringing and making their own alcohol. That's just a tradition.
Beth Worley is the director of the Blue Ridge Institute and Museum in Ferrum, home of the largest collection of moonshine memorabilia in the country. When Prohibition hit in the 20s, the distillers who were already making their own liquor took production to an industrial-sized scale.
The folks here made over 6 million gallons of whiskey. That's the 1930s. People here made $10 million on whiskey in the 1930s. In today's money currency, that would be $120 million.
But why was it that Franklin County was a place where moonshining could thrive? We had to ask an expert from neighboring Pittsylvania County. Stephen Ray Tickle, most know him as simply Tickle, from Discovery Channel's Moonshiners.
Without good water, you have nothing. And so with the combination of the submarine pot, the access to good coverage and places to make it, and the access to the water, it was just really like a marriage made in heaven.
What makes moonshining illegal is that government just wants a piece of the pie and aren't getting it.
It comes down to licensing, taxes, fees, money.
And limited production. The legal shiners like Franklin County Distilleries in Boone's Mill can only produce 5,000 gallons annually. But Assistant GM Brian Argabright says he can still offer his customers a high-quality moonshine.
We've had some good local support from it, so we're just happy that everybody's coming down to enjoy some good old Franklin County moonshiner. Corn whiskey, as we call it, since the taxes have been paid.
For many in Franklin County, moonshining is a family business, and one of the most notorious is the Law family. Owen Law started as a bootlegger in the 1920s.
He died when he was 92, I think, and he was still under probation.
Henry and Kenny Law are the grandsons of Owen. Henry's dad, Amos, became one of the most well-known moonshiners in the country. He showed Henry and Kenny the ropes when they were kids.
He said, well, son, he said, you know, if you go in there, he said, you have diamonds around you, on your fingers, gold around your neck, but one damn thing be sure of, it's shackles on your feet.
Back in the heyday, me and him, we made about as much liquor as anybody in the country, or more, I would say.
Just me and Kenny, we were knocking down annually 47,000 gallons a year.
The Law family says when the holidays came around and if everyone was at the table, it was a good year. Moonshiners were no strangers to law enforcement, but it was Operation Lightning Strike at the turn of the century that brought the business in Franklin County to a screeching halt.
They started using the laws against the moonshiners like they used against the mafia back there years ago, and they started taking people's property. You can't afford to do it illegally.
It's not worth the loss.
The Law cousins took their practice to the legal side around 4 years ago, taking advice from one of their probation officers, of all people. Now, Law's choice is filling liquor store shelves in Southern Virginia, using Amos's family recipe.
Used to, we'd be looking over our shoulder continuously. Now we're able just to sit down and take our time.
People question it right smart. Me and Henry, we've tried to tell them, but they think it's different, but it's not.
Once they taste ours, we got them.
Proof. That is good.
What was once something hidden is now something that's promoted in the county. Director of Tourism for Franklin County Office of Economic Development, David Rotenizer, says the alcohol is a given, but what they emphasize is the heritage that comes with it.
You mentioned moonshine heritage, just something you just don't think about. And then you start, oh. And there's just something magic about it, something different.
The lore of it, the mystique of the moonshiner, I think that people find so interesting. But for us, it was just a business.
When we were young, we never looked at it like that. We never looked at it like we were part of that being handed down to us and that we could possibly hand it down to our children. Never thought about this stuff.
Thought nothing about it.
It just amazes me now that we are part of that.
Henry put the Law family story and others from Franklin County's moonshining days into a book. He titled it 100 Proof. That book now sits in the Blue Ridge Institute and Museum. Though the county's heyday of illegal moonshining is behind it, the stories, festivals, and experiences shows anyone who visits that this part of Virginia is for moonshine lovers.